Right, we've got the P4 International Paper, October 2020. Only question 2. It's a binomial expansion question, but I think it deserves to be a bit later in the paper, just my personal view. So I'm going to do a binomial expansion on 4 minus 5x to the minus a half up to x squared. So here's the binomial expansion. We've got a 1 here, but the n could be anything now. So we've got to have a 1 there. 1 plus something to the power of, well, anything really. The trouble is we've got this 4 here, which we want to be a 1, so we need to take that 4 out as a factor, but it's really 4 to the minus a half. And when we take the 4 to the minus a half out, we're left with 1 minus 5 over 4x in the bracket. If you do 4 times that bracket, forget about the minus a half, you will get 4 minus 5x. So 4 to the minus half times that the minus half does give you this. Now it's in the correct form. I've got 1. I've got minus, but it's okay. Our x really is minus 5 over 4x, and our n is minus a half. So stick it in the formula. First term 1, but 4 to the minus half first, of course, is 1 over 2. It's negative, so it's 1 over 4 to the half. So that's just a half. And then I've got to do the binomial expansion on this. First term's 1, second term is n times x, so it's a minus a half times minus 5 over 4x. The third term I've got n minus 1, 1 times 2. So there's the n minus 1, all over 2 factorial, or 1 times 2, and that's our x to the power of 2. The term after this one will be n times n minus 1 times n minus 2 over 1 times 2 times 3, and then x cubed. The 3 term, it's actually the 4th term. I call that the 0 term, and that's the first term really. That's the 1 term, and that's the 2 term. 2 at the bottom, 2 terms on the top, squared on the top. And if I simplify this, I'll have a half times 1, and then I'll have a half times minuses will cancel. I'll have 5 over 8 times x times a half is 5 over 16. This was a bit hard. You probably have to stick this in your calculator, I think. But you should end up with 75 over 256 times x squared. And that's the expansion up to the term in x squared. And then it tells us that f of x is equal to this. And it's got 4 minus 5x square root on the bottom, which is this really. So we're going to use the first part of the question to work out what f of x is. And it tells us it's equal to this. So we're going to work out what the k is and what the m is. From the expansion. So first of all, we write f of x like this: 2 plus kx times 4 minus 5x to the minus a half. And like I say, we've done that in the first part of the question, so we can write it like this. There's the 2 minus kx, and there's the expansion that we had in the first part. And we're going to work out what the expansion is, sort of term by term. So the first term is clearly just 1 because it's 2 times a half. So they got that right. The x coefficient, well, there are 2 ways to get the x coefficient. I'm going to multiply these 2 together because I'll have a k times a half times x, or a half k multiplied by x. I can also multiply these 2 terms together to get an x term. So I'll have 2 times 5 over 16 times x, which is 10 over 16x, or 5/8 of x. And then the x squared term, again, there's 2 ways to get the x squared term. I can multiply these 2 terms together, and the coefficient of x squared for those will be 5/16 of k. And also I can do the 2 times the x squared term here, and that'll give me 75 over 128. Now I'm going to work out what the value of k is. We can do this because we know that this is equal to 3 over 10, the coefficient of x. Half k plus 5 over 8 is equal to 3 over 10. If I solve that, take away 5/8 and multiply by 2, I get minus 13 over 20. And the value of m, well, this is the m. The m is 5/16 of k, which we've just worked out, plus 75 over 128. Work that in your calculator, you should get 49 over 128.